I just for some reason I think like Captain Hook versus the pirates from like the last Assassin's Creed or the Vikings from the last Assassin's Creed game where they're just doing raids.
Yeah.
And I'm
Captain
like,
Hook's getting worked.
yeah, right. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
That's where my brain went to. I'm not gonna lie.
I also picture a lot of the pirates with only one hand or one foot, so it's like I feel like they're at a disadvantage here.
We can't just have all giants. What kind of small guys? Like he's gotta get him. He's gotta get him.
We gotta pack it up.
He said, because if we don't get it, somebody else is gonna get it.
And drink straight out the bottle.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Boys and girls.
welcome to the Who Effing Knows podcast. We appreciate you for joining us again. It is a beautiful Friday here in Covington, Louisiana, Mandeville, Louisiana. It's Fresh Cut Friday. Dave didn't get the memo.
I got it last week.
No. I was just messing. I did get a haircut today. Obviously, I have a hat on, so that tells you everything you need to know. No, it doesn't. I love my haircut. But it's Friday, and we got a new episode dropping for you. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. We got some notes written down, so obviously we'll get into some things here in a minute. If you've been here before, you know we're the podcast about everything and nothing all at the same time. I got my coffee in my cup. I'm ready to go.
I got my milk in my cup. Anyway.
How we doing, man?
I'm good, man. It was a long week, but at 11 o'clock last night, our queen, our tribal queen, saved the week and dropped not one, but two albums.
Yeah.
The one and only Taylor Swift.
T-Swizzle.
T-Swizzle, Tay-Tay.
Swifty for life. Not me, you. I've only heard like two songs. How you feeling?
It's good.
Yeah.
You know, it's a Taylor Swift album. Great songwriting, all of that. A couple depressing moments here, a couple catchy songs here, a couple upbeat songs. It's a little bit of everything.
See, that's what I need. I didn't push through. I'll be honest. Somebody asked me about it earlier, and I went to bed early last night, so I didn't listen to anything when it dropped. But I listened to Fortnite this morning, and after that song, or maybe midway through that song, I'm like, man, I'm feeling kind of depressed all of a sudden. Like, I don't like how I feel. Yeah. So, like, honestly, I just stopped. I was like, I'm gonna check out for a little while. We'll get back to this.
I get that. Also, did we think something titled "Tortured Poets" was gonna be super uplifting? But I would say there's 31 songs.
Yeah.
There's something on there for you, for whatever mood you're in. I would say I would if you don't care about listening to it in order, put it on shuffle.
Yeah.
And just find something you like.
That's probably the mistake I made. In the past, I have always put her albums on shuffle. And it normally comes out pretty good, Like, her last couple albums weren't the happiest either.
Right.
But, sorry, I'm adjusting my microphone here, so if y'all are getting feedback.
So this isn't just Taylor Swift. I'm a firm believer in listening to albums for the first time in order. Because I've heard artists say on podcasts and things like that they pay a lot of attention to how the albums are structured. So
especially her.
Yeah. So first time through, I always listen in order. And then from there, I usually tend to save whatever songs I like to a playlist or or whatever. And then then from there, just put it on shuffle and roll with it.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of everything. There's some upbeat songs where I'd have to really listen to the lyrics. That may still be depressing lyrics, but at least the song is upbeat. I'm not sure.
I'm telling you, that first song, Fortnite, I was like, man, this feels very down. And you don't hear every lyric the first run through. You hear some of them. So I went and looked up the lyrics.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I went and looked up the lyrics, and I'm like, good Lord. Like, someone cheated on her. She became an alcoholic. Nobody cares that she's an alcoholic because she's functioning. Now they live next door to her, and they're like best friends. She wants to kill the wife. I'm like, I don't know if that's exactly what this song is about, but it's pretty cryptic.
There's some things like that where she's just good at that, where she could give you an upbeat song, but it's still about something like maybe heartbreaking. But she's, like you're saying, you have to listen to her more than once. It's funny because it's kind of like how we were talking about Kendrick that time, where you got to like re-listen a few times to catch it. You know what I mean?
We are not comparing Taylor Swift and Kendrick Lamar.
No, well, they did have a song together back in the day.
Okay.
This is kind of transition into a different topic. Do you like listen to songs? How often are you like listening to like a Lil Wayne song, for example, nowadays that came out when you were younger, and you hear something and you're like, oh, like you catch something new now that as a kid you just like
Yeah.
Like as a kid, you're just like, oh, I like this song, but you don't really know what's what they're talking about. And then like you might catch a metaphor here now that you're like, oh, this is even better than I thought it was back then.
Yeah, I don't honestly. I don't think that happens to me very often. It happens to me with like movies or things like that or TV shows. Now, if I go watch old TV shows that I liked as a kid, then I catch the stuff and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I was watching this as a kid. Songs, I don't know. I think because growing up, I dissected songs growing up. Like I listened word for word. I wanted to know every word to every song, especially rap songs for some reason. Like I wanted to know all of it, especially because like Wayne specifically, he was very big at like play on words. Everything he did,
Right.
some of it was ridiculous. Like it wasn't even like good. It was just like he connected some random word to another word, and he threw something in about football in between. And I was like, oh, okay, Tony Romo, that's funny. Like
I think this might be one of the situations where like our age gap matters, because I'm thinking like when Carter 2 came out, you're what, 5 years older than me, I think.
yeah,
So-
Carter 2 came out during Hurricane Katrina, right? Or like right before.
Yeah, so I'm like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Where you're 15, you could.
I was 17
Yeah.
when I was really listening.
Right.
To
So
Carter 2.
like, I was still to the point where I was definitely at the point where I definitely should not have been listening to the Carter kid. But my point is, I was still to the point where I was just listening to music to listen to music. I wasn't
Right.
really dissecting lyrics, and I feel like probably wasn't until like high school where I like really started to appreciate lyrics and things like that. And then still, I'll go back and listen to like Carter 1 and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and I catch something new. And I'm just saying Wayne, but just artists in
yeah,
general.
for sure.
And I enjoy that. It's like rediscovering a song almost. It's like you're saying, like rewatching a movie from a while back. Like you learn something new. Like you might miss something, or I don't know. There was a time you're talking about movies, so I really liked the Fast and the Furious movies until once it got like super ridiculous. I've kind of just checked out on them, but I used to like them so much that I went back and watched them in like the order, the
correct
chronological.
order.
Yeah, and I did the same with the Marvel movies, and you kind of catch different things.
Yeah.
because like you know what's coming next, and I like to do stuff like that.
Yeah, you pay more attention.
Yeah.
When you go back and you rewatch, it's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
I like to do it with like horror films too, to see if there's like anything. So like I've said it a bunch of times on here, The Strangers is my favorite
Yeah.
movie, and there's little parts where they're hiding in the background, and you don't always catch it the first time.
Yeah.
So I like to go back and watch horror films.
You
and
big
be like-
horror movie guy? You like?
I do.
Yeah.
So I don't ever really there's not a ton that come out where I'm like scared, right? And I'm not somebody that's like scared for days after I see a good one, right? But like there's some, I'm not a big jump scare
Yeah.
horror film. Like that's it. I don't like the cheap scares.
Yeah.
I like when they're lurking in the background and you just don't see them, or like just that little creep when it makes you feel a little creepy. Sometimes, like Insidious, very good.
Yeah.
You know, now I can appreciate a good jump scare in the right moment, but when the whole movie just relies on jump scares, it's not for me. But yeah, I do. It's comedy's my favorite, I would say, genre. But horror's like right there. I don't know why.
No. I asked because I'm not, but it's for the reason you said. Like I remember growing up watching horror movies. Like I wasn't like you said. I wasn't scared afterwards for days, and like in the moment, it wasn't like I was like, "Oh, this is a scary movie." But it was like those quick jump cut scares. I was like, "This ain't for me." I'm a grown ass man. I'm not trying to jump out of my seat. Ugh! Like I'm good. Let me not get caught looking like a fool.
I will say I enjoy watching those kind of jump scares in the theater.
Yeah.
When you got the whole theater, it can just be like, I went and watch, I don't forget what movie it was, but we were in there and there was this dude sitting like the row in front of me in a beanie. He was like scared to death the whole movie. And it's like pitch black. All you can really see is like shadows in the theater. Mm-hmm. There was one point where they did a jump scare, and all I saw was this dude's beanie get up, the shadow of his beanie get up, and he just walked out. He's like, I'm done.
I'm out.
So all you see during this movie is his beanie just going throughout the thing.
I love it.
It was great. No, you know what it is though? It's not. I say horror, but it's almost like a drama kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like a drama horror mix is what I really enjoy.
Yeah. No, I horror can kick rocks, but I do like drama. I like the weird stuff. Like I like the stuff that like I like Shutter Island. Like, I like the stuff where you
Yeah.
like gotta like connect the dots mentally and like
Yeah.
figure out what the hell's happening in this situation or that situation. I also really love, like, I haven't seen it yet, but like Oppenheimer, like something like that.
I still haven't seen it. Funny story about Oppenheimer with Aaron. Aaron, friend of the show. So we always text about like, oh, what shows are you watching? I'm watching this show. Have you started watching it yet? And for like 3 weeks, I would text him and be like, have you started watching Shogun yet? He's like, no, we're still watching Oppenheimer for 3 weeks.
It's a long movie.
Right. I was like, I love that y'all turned Oppenheimer into a 3-week TV show. That might be the way to do it.
I was going to say, that's the reason I haven't watched it, because it's so dang long. I'm like, well, I'm not committing 3 hours to this right now. And I just never turn it on.
I know a lot of people did that with like the, what was it, the Snyder Cut version of like the Justice League.
Yeah.
People were saying if you just cut it in half, it makes it a lot more digestible.
Yeah, no, it's not. The Justice League in general is terrible, and you guys know it. Snyder Cut or not. Anyways, what else is going on? We got things happening. We can jump into... We got some questions this week from Twitter.
I was going to say, however we do this, I kind of want to keep it uniform. So either we start with them every week or we end with them every week. How do you want to do this?
I don't know.
If we start with it, maybe it leads to some conversation. I'd hate to end with it and have to cut the conversation.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. Let's always start with it.
Okay.
Let's start with it. I have topics too, but we'll get into the questions first, since we just started with a 20-minute monologue about movies and Taylor Swift.
It's only 11 minutes.
Oh,
yeah, I like the idea of starting with it. Let's make sure we get the listeners involved.
All right. I'm assuming you have stuff ready to go.
I'll just bookmark. Yeah, it was only 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So Dustin sent us a couple.
Yep. Shout out Dustin, friend of the show.
His first question is, why do we park on driveways and drive on parkways?
Yeah. Do you have thoughts on that? Because I actually know the answer. So I'll let you go first if you want.
I don't have really an answer for that, but I did want to say, is it park on the driveway or park in the driveway?
Oh, see, now I don't care.
It's in. That's the answer. Just wanted to, but it also made me think of another question. So I want you to give me your thoughts on this.
Why is it in instead of on? Like, you park on the driveway too. Like
you pull in the driveway.
Sort of. You also park on it.
I guess.
You can pull in it and park on it.
Sure.
It's one and the same.
I guess so.
Semantics. Now you're just picking fights.
That's what I'm here for.
No, so the reason why it is that, I actually looked it up a long time ago, because I was like, why? This is so weird. So the term driveway actually predates the term parkway. And the reason why we park on the driveway is because originally what a driveway was, or park in the driveway, I'm sorry. The reason we park physically on top of a driveway is because driveway initially, back in the old days, before cars even existed, were the places that you would drive up to next to a barn with your, buggy or whatever, and you would drop things off at your house.
Interesting.
So that's what that came from. And then the parkway, I don't know, it came after. I have no idea why they call it a parkway, I'll be honest.
Learn something new every day here on the Who Effing Knows podcast. The question this made me think of was, why when we spell fridge is there a D, and when it's refrigerator there is no D?
Listen, the American language doesn't make sense in general, so we could just...
We say that, but as somebody who's been doing Spanish stuff consistently, I feel like they just add words to make it more difficult than it needs to be.
Yes and no, but if you look at every other language, they're a lot closer to Spanish than they are English. So it's like...
That's true, I guess. I wonder what, like, somebody who speaks like German or something, if it would be harder for them to learn. What's harder to learn, Spanish or English?
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. Well, like, Spanish is...
I'd be interested to know.
There's a lot of languages that are like Latin based, which Spanish, obviously. English is just like kind of all over the place. Like, I don't know. I don't know the origins. I'll be honest with you. I could sit here and try and pretend like I did with parkway and driveway. I actually knew that.
General. I'm going to have to look into that, because I just wonder what is considered to be one of the harder languages to learn, and where English ranks in there.
For me, the language that feels the hardest is Portuguese. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's a mix mash of 3 different languages, and it makes no sense. You can assume that you know it, and then you hear a word, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's this. And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, why did you change it? It's weird. You just threw French and Spanish together, and now nothing makes sense in my world.
There's a couple, like, things I've learned from Duolingo where it's like the word sounds the same, but it's not spelled the same. And I was like, car and dog. Or it's like car, dog, but, as in like, I am doing this, but. and then there's another one. But you could say like a full sentence with the same word like 5 different times.
I've seen that.
I'm like, this is so confusing. It's
I
like,
can't remember what
it's
it was.
Pero, caro, caro. Like, oh, Jesus.
I followed someone on Instagram actually that teaches Spanish in that way. It's just an account for that, but it's hilarious.
I think Marcelo actually said, because I told him about this because he speaks Spanish. And I told him, I was like, this was right when I was first starting Duolingo. And he would send me stuff like that. It might be the same person you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the confusion I'm running into.
Yeah. It's like, first of all, you're not really teaching me anything. Now I'm just more confused. I have no idea why these things are the way they are.
Yeah.
What I never, and we don't have to keep going down the rabbit hole of language, because I'm sure this is such a riveting conversation for you folks. Maybe it is. What I never understood, but now kind of makes more sense to me, is how everything is either feminine or masculine.
I was going to say the same thing.
Always threw me off.
It gets confusing.
Yeah.
It's that, honestly, that's what messes me up the most when I'm doing like the lessons. I know what the word is, but I never know if it's a feminine or a masculine thing. And like I wonder, there's so many things I wonder now, like as I'm learning, like for people who speak it fluently, like how much do they care about that? Or is there just like a generic like slang term, for like lack of a better word, that they just use always?
Maybe. Could be.
Interesting question. All right. Dustin has another question for us.
What else has Dustin got?
Who wins in a fight to the death? A pirate or a Viking?
That's a good question. If I had to choose, I'm going Viking.
I also was going to say Viking.
Yeah. I just assume like a Viking is like this big, brawny dude. And a pirate, I mean, they've probably been starving at sea for... Oh, I guess Vikings also cross the sea. I don't know. Are they the same thing? Could they be argued that a Viking is a pirate?
It's a good question. I wish I would have looked this up to see what the definition of a pirate is compared to a Viking. Although a pirate, when you look it up, is going to end up being like the little Somalian pirates.
That's fair.
And if we're talking those, then Vikings definitely winning.
I don't know. They got guns. I don't think Vikings were carrying guns.
I just, for some reason, I think like Captain Hook versus the pirates from like the last Assassin's Creed, or the Vikings from the last Assassin's Creed game, where they're just doing raids.
Yeah. Captain Hook's getting worked.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
That's where my brain went to. I'm not gonna lie. I picture the most cartoon version of both of these.
There's not a ton of like intimidating Viking movie or intimidating pirate movies out there, whereas every Viking is intimidating.
Right. I mean, pirates were like historically, like pirates were very intimidating. They were very violent, I think.
Yeah, for some reason, I just imagine Vikings just being more ruthless. That may not be the case, but just in my head, I also think these big, giant guys that are just going to raid everything and just destroy everything in their path.
Same. I picture guys that had to kill an animal to survive, and now they're wearing the animal's pelt. And the other guy, I don't know, I guess it's still hard, like crossing the sea on a ship and like...
I also picture a lot of the pirates with only one hand or one foot. So it's like, I feel like they're at a disadvantage here.
Okay.
You know, I mean... we can blame the movies for my opinions here,
right?
But
I'm like Captain Jack's, but like the most known pirate I can think of recently is like Captain Jack Sparrow, even though he's not a real pirate,
right?
And I'm like, this dude's like this quirky weirdo. He's gonna get destroyed,
right?
Or maybe he'll do some weird, kumbaya stuff and sneak away.
But honestly, my brain mostly just goes to like Captain Hook and his whole crew, and they're all just. They're getting worked, like you said.
He got worked by 8-year-olds his whole life, okay? He cannot handle a 400-pound man.
Yeah, all they need is a crocodile, the Vikings, and they'd be all right. Last question is from David, who is at RollWave234 on Twitter.
Is that your burner?
It's not mine.
I've always been curious.
It's not my burner. I do have a burner, but that's not...
I don't have a burner.
I don't tweet anybody from it, though.
Okay.
It's just there. This is a Tulane question. We haven't talked about Tulane in a couple of weeks, so that's good. Who do you like to be the QB1 for the Wave?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's been a lot of talk.
So before you say, the spring game is tomorrow, so I want to clarify, we're saying this before we see anything that comes out tomorrow at the spring game, because I think it's going to be a pretty big tell tomorrow.
Well, maybe. Listen, if I gun to my head, it's Ty Thompson. Like, it's got to be, but it doesn't have to be.
I want to ask you, though, because I've seen some people that have had access to the practices and things like that. They're posting stat lines and takeaways, and I assumed it was going to be pretty clear cut
But yeah,
And it doesn't seem like it has been. So does that have you concerned at all?
it doesn't have me concerned. If anything, I'm a little excited because if you go back and there's an article I wrote a long time ago about the quarter, maybe it was a video I did about the quarterbacks, and I talked about Mensa for a minute. And one thing that I really, really liked about Mensa is like he was kind of the dark horse coming into this season, even before anyone transferred here. Like I thought he had a strong possibility of winning the job just from the beginning. Now, thinking that, I was also thinking, oh, Tulane maybe has a down year. It's a transitional year. Obviously, then we get a lot of big transfers, and now I'm like ready to go fight for a spot in the tournament. So I don't know. Like I don't think you go wrong with a guy like Mensa if he outright wins the job. And I think something that holds true and is strong is, Coach has always said this was a battle from the beginning, and he has not wavered on that. So I feel pretty comfortable and confident in whoever they choose that it will lead you to where you need to be. They've shown in the past, offensive coordinator and Summerall as the head coach, that they're willing to go with the best player available and then just build around that to their strengths.
Yeah.
So
I'll also say this. If you had asked me going into the season, I would have said that, and like I don't want to come off as like disrespectful or anything. I didn't think Kai Horton was going to be the guy, but I will say they've added so much talent at wide receiver that it's just it could be one of those situations where it just elevates his game, right?
Yeah.
And I know they got another 4-star that's coming to the spring game tomorrow.
I was about to say that.
So, like,
I almost tweeted at somebody the other day. They were like, I forget his name. He's leaving LSU. And they're like, oh, no, we don't get to watch him play anymore. I was going to be like, well, he's going to be about an hour west or east. You can still watch him.
Yeah. So I don't know a ton about Mensa, but I'm so intrigued by Ty Thompson that I think that's who I want it to be.
Yeah.
Just the fact that he was a 5-star, all these things, like just going off of paper, I guess, because it's really all you can look at right now. None of them have a ton of playing time in college.
Right.
Like he seems like his ceiling is the highest to me.
Yeah, potentially because of his original status.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that's not. I'm not trying to knock Mintz or anything. I just don't know a ton about him.
He's sneaky good. He's a little athletic. He can throw off platform. Like he makes quick decisions.
I'm kind of with you where I'm just like, everything this coaching staff has done so far is like they've given me all the faith in them to just be like, whoever you trust, no matter who it is, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Like I would, coming into the season, I would have said it's going to be Ty Thompson. It just made the most sense. But now I'm like, okay, whoever y'all pick, I have all the faith in the world in it. There's a ton of talent surrounding them.
Listen, we're only talking about quarterback, wide receiver. There's also some pretty strong guys in the backfield that can really take some pressure off of these quarterbacks and lead to play action and other things if you want to commit to the run early on. I mean, yeah, I'm not concerned, to be honest, at all. I'm actually excited.
Yeah, hopefully we get some a ton of like clips from there. I'm upset that it's not televised tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's Saturday. I forgot what day it was. Because I can't get out there, so it sucks that we're not going to get to see it in person. But I'm sure we'll get enough highlights and stuff. I know Maddie's been recapping all the practices or the spring games or whatever they're doing right now. So that's what I've been listening to. There's a ton of people that put out a bunch of good content. So
for sure. Listen, the Tulane content base has been growing. Like for a while, it felt like we and like 2 other people were like the only people doing it. Now it's really picking up, which is nice.
Yeah. So, but to answer his question, I'm right now I'm gonna say Ty Thompson, but tomorrow could completely change my answer.
That's fair.
So
I also go Ty Thompson for the obvious reasons.
And I will definitely revisit it next week or as we're creeping up into the heat of football season here. So
yeah, we are. Hell yeah, we are.
That's all the questions we had.
NFL drafts next week.
That's what I was going to say.
We'll save that. We'll probably save that because we might do a special NFL draft episode coming up Wednesday. We'll talk to you about that after the podcast.
Okay.
We got we got a guest we might be bringing on, so stay tuned for that.
Just like so not even like, I don't want to talk, what it needs and wants and all of that. Are you excited at all about
the draft?
This Saints off season in general?
Man, I mean, yes, but no, not like I used to be. I have a buddy that every year we would do a draft party, and he moved away and he came back, and even last year we got together for the draft for a day, and I texted him like 2 days ago, just like, hey, it just hit me. The draft's next week. Do you want to get together? And it was just kind of like this, like, it feels like we should do this, but it's not. It's definitely not as exciting as it used to be.
I wonder if for me, I agree, but I wonder for me, I don't know if it's like just like my general care for football overall is going down, or if I'm just like so like the Saints are the Saints right now, and like the current state of the team is what's driving my interest now. Because I think I am still interested in the draft. Like I want to see. I'm very interested in like where the quarterbacks go and things like that. But when it comes to the Saints, I'm just like,
meh.
And it's sad. It is sad because I'm like I used to be like if you could have asked me months in advance, I could have told you when the draft was. It snuck up on me. Like that never used to happen.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh shit, the draft's next week. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's been so focused on other things, Pelicans, personal things in life, things like that. It did kind of sneak up.
It's true.
100%. Shout out to the Pelicans. Zion Williamson, get well soon. Feel free, brother.
Don't make me sad.
It was depressing, man. I was really I was trying to explain to my wife. I was like, I wasn't going to be upset if they lost. Even before he got hurt, I was like, I won't be upset if they, because she was like, oh, great, you're going to be mad. But I was like, no, I don't care. Like, if they lose, they lose. It is what it is. I was like, we got another game. Zion looks phenomenal. And then Zion gets hurt after single-handedly dragging us back. And in that moment, then I was like, it was just like, what now?
I'm not sad for the team. I'm sad for him. That's what it is. You can tell that dude put in so much work. We just talked about it last week.
Yeah.
Like he put in so much work, and this was our first. I'm not counting the in-season tournament as like postseason stuff. This was the first taste of playoff Zion, and it was everything we had hoped it would be.
Listen, he was walking down LeBron. It was like the possession before or something like that. LeBron was like attacking the rim, and I'm shouting something like, show him who the new king is or something like, and he blocks his shot, and I was like, oh my God. And then he goes and ties the game, and I was like, Zion has arrived.
Right. This may be, I'm sure there's a little bit of like hometown bias in here. He was the best player on the court.
He was.
On a court with LeBron, and say what you will, and Anthony Davis.
Well, Anthony Davis is phenomenal.
He was the best player on the court. And
he was giving AD fits. AD couldn't guard him. Nobody could guard him.
Nobody can guard him, dude. And what makes me sad is I just said it last week on the pod that he was finally going into, and maybe this is just something minor, right? And it doesn't really affect his offseason, but he was going into an offseason healthy. And I had told you that I thought next year was the year.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm with you. I didn't expect them to go on some crazy run this year. If they did, fantastic.
Right.
But I didn't expect, especially if you match up against Denver, like it's tough, right? Mm-hmm. And
still excited though to see that.
Yes.
To see the 7-game series, even if it goes 4 games, I don't care. Like,
yeah, I just wanted to see how he was in the playoffs, and I was preparing for next year.
Right.
And so I'm really just hoping that, because the hamstring is what kept him out all last year. I'm hoping that it's just a minor thing. It's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, and he's good for the offseason is what I'm really hoping for. I do think, as far as tonight goes, I do think they can still win tonight.
Sure. Also, this is going to come out after, so if you're seeing this and you're confused, we're saying this before the game.
Yeah, and like we've seen it, BI can step up in the playoffs.
I think they do win tonight. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Now, you've beaten the team 6 times. That's hard.
Right.
But
texted Aaron. He's like, would you rather play the Kings or the Warriors? I was like, it can be hard to beat a team 6 times. He said, well, the Lakers have beaten the Pels 25 times. I was like, touche. So there's fair. That.
We did beat them once.
Yeah. So I mean, I do think BI can, for some reason, it's like when it's one or the other, I have a little more, I have faith. But
I think the Kings, we match up well with the Kings because they're first of all, 2 of their best players are out, or 2 of their better players are out, not best. Keegan Murray's going to have himself a game. But JV has shown, like, say what you want about JV. If there is ever a time for JV time, it is tonight. JV has shown that he balls out against the Kings. I don't know if it's just that he's matching up against Sabonis or what, but like he big dogs that team. So
I love JV, man, and I'm watching these games. I told you I'd be more invested once this time of the season ran around. Mm-hmm. And I'm just watching right now, like, is this the last time we get to see him play as a Pelican? And it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Because I love JV. That dude, you know, how he fits in an offense and things like that aside, that dude is reliable. He'll do the dirty work, right? So I appreciate JV for always being available and things like that. You never hear him complain about having to miss an entire half of the game because whatever reason. But
he's a pro. He's a pro's pro.
Yeah. So wherever, I assume he will not be here next year. Mm-hmm. So wherever he goes, best to him.
Best to him. That's it.
What other topics you got?
Oh, you know what? I mean, how deep do you want to get? Or not deep, but wait, 30 minutes. Okay, let's see. I don't know. So I wrote down. Let's do this one. Have you seen the new Bluey episode?
I have not. I knew you were going to ask me about this.
The Sign.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's a great episode. Phenomenal episode.
My kid, Kason, is just not as... He will watch Bluey. And I bought him, those little 5-minute bedtime storybooks. Mm-hmm. I bought him a Bluey version of it, and he likes to read those. But he's just not into, sitting down and watching Bluey a lot. There will be times where he's like, let's watch Bluey, because he knows I like it. So he'll want to watch it. But he's not, I don't know. It's just not, in his top 5 of favorite shows. He's really into, Power Rangers and things like that right now. He's into the boy shows at the moment.
Yeah.
But,
natural. I mean, Bluey's about 2 girls. Both the kids are girls. That makes sense.
But I'll be honest, it may be something I watch just by myself.
So, here's what I don't like. And if you haven't seen it and you do watch Bluey and you like Bluey, this is your opportunity to stop listening. Because I'm going to say some stuff. Anyways, here's what I don't like.
Rare negative take on Bluey.
It's not. No, it's not. Well, actually, it might be a little negative. So, this whole episode is about them moving. Mm-hmm. They're moving. And normally every Bluey episode is very there's something for everyone. And that's the reason why, you just said, you like it. That's why I like it as an adult. There's always something for the adults. There's always something for the kids. There's always a message, an underlying message through the episode. It's always really entertaining. This one, kind of the same thing. But I think a lot of parents went into this excited. Some I've even seen people talking about online, hey, we're moving. Bluey's moving. We thought this was a great opportunity to sit down and watch what that's like. And basically the whole episode is about Bluey not wanting to move and being very upset that they're moving. And skipping all the stuff in between, because just in the interest of time, basically at the end of the episode, they decide that they're not moving. And it was a very long episode where basically these other dogs had put down, they had signed a contract, they put down a down payment on this house, and everything was done. And it gets to the point where literally the house is packed up. The dogs have already signed everything and they're going to move in the next day. And Bluey is literally in the car leaving. And Bandit gets a phone call from the real estate agent basically saying, hey, the other dogs backed out because they found a house with a pool and that's what they wanted instead. Now there's a lot of other stuff in between, which is really cool. But you can't back out of a contract like that. First of all, who wrote this? Is that legal in Australia? I don't understand how this works out.
Well,
and what they were leaving for a job.
So this is so weird to talk about in terms of a kid's cartoon, but so they signed the closing.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. So they basically they were supposed to move in, they were moving out and the other dogs were moving in the next day. They were in their car. All their stuff was gone. They had already signed a contract. Okay. That's it. They were closing the next day, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
Such a weird conversation.
And I'm did you just give up your earnest money? You're just out thousands of dollars? You don't care? How does this work? What is going on here? And the Bluey family, they were moving because they had a job somewhere. They just decided not to take that job. What happened to his old job? Did he quit? What's he going to do now? Now I'm confused. There are so many questions I have.
2024, he's working remote.
Yeah, but whether you're working remote or not, you have a job. So
I don't know, man. I haven't seen it, so I don't have a ton of takes here. But That's fair. Is weird conversation to have when it's stemming from. I think they did their job in getting you to think.
Yeah, sure.
They got you to have a real conversation about this episode. I saw a lot of people saying it made them sad and cry.
Well, there's a lot of sad things that happen throughout it.
Okay. I'm assuming it's saying goodbye to a house.
Basically, yeah. It's Bluey took her first steps here. We have all these memories here. We don't want to leave. Nobody actually wants to leave. And then that's like the end. It's like, we're not leaving. And it's like this like, hey, we're happy because we're staying now. But for other families who are trying to connect to this and be like, hey, look, we're just like Bluey. We're also moving. And then at the end of the movie, they decide they're not moving.
That's what I was going to ask. So Bluey's, the whole thing that makes Bluey like one of the best shows is it I don't know. I guess the best way to say is it teaches kids the right thing or how to handle situations the right way. Do you feel like this did that, or do you not?
That's well, yes and no. It did for most of it, but I think the ending of it is very unfortunate in what it like. It gives false hope. Like you can't just if you're packed up and you're leaving the next day to move somewhere, normally doesn't change.
True. I need to go watch it. I might have to just watch it without without my kids.
There's also a lot of other things throughout. If you've watched Bluey for a while, like
so is this like an hour long?
It's like 30.
It's
minutes.
like a movie almost.
It's only 30 minutes. It's 28
So
minutes.
they put out one episode at a time. Interesting. They don't just do full seasons.
No, well, it's been kind of weird how they released Bluey. They released like blocks of episodes in the United States, and then recently, in the last like couple months, they've released like one at a time. So like, there's another one coming out next week. That's the season finale, which is probably shorter.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't like I said, I don't have a ton of takes because I haven't seen it, but now I want to go watch it. So
it's sad. There's other sad moments. There's a whole piece about people getting married and breaking up and then getting back together, and you know, people finding love. The person who couldn't get pregnant early. I'm giving so many spoilers. The sister who couldn't get pregnant a lot earlier in the season all of a sudden is pregnant, but they don't acknowledge it. She's just walking around pregnant. So it's like there's like little things.
If you didn't say you were talking about a children's cartoon and you're just describing this whole thing, it seems like an adult show.
It is an adult show. Yeah. That's the thing.
That's the poll question. Is Bluey more for kids or adults? Let us know. I think it's more for adults. No show has done a better job of getting parents to want to watch it. No show.
100%. Parents are literally excited about the next episode dropping.
Yeah.
Like it's a thing.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I don't really have anything. I'm trying to think if I had anything else. I don't. And I don't really want to force anything.
I don't like forcing stuff.
So.
We do want to. I want to start doing top fives again. Let's start bringing that back. We've talked about it before. Okay. Top fives, drafts, things like that. We'll make a post about it. We made a post this last week. We're going to keep doing that where every week we're like, hey, shoot your questions. Or if you have thoughts on a top five, hey, shoot those. Whatever you got. We want to let you drive this conversation. We want to give content that you guys want to see.
Yeah, that gave us almost an entire episode. So that was only three questions. So yeah, I'd love to get to the point where we're having to choose who we answer. Yeah. We got so many inputs, you know. Go follow all our other pods. I want to shout that out. Sometimes we rush out on the end and don't shout all the other stuff out. Wrestling season is always in season, so
sure is.
Go check out FBR. I can't speak for Patty, but I'm having a ton of fun doing that pod.
Yeah.
Every week, more fun than I thought I was going to have. To be honest, I thought I'd get burnt out on it pretty quick, but I'm not. Baseball season is back, so Marcelo and I and sometimes other people we'll put out an episode every 2-3 weeks or so. Too much baseball going on to do every week. It's just too much. Same reason I stopped focusing on the fantasy league we're in.
Listen, I've gotten text messages about my team already. It's like, hey, you have this many injuries. What is that?
I don't understand it.
I'm like, there's too much going on.
It's telling me I only have so many innings to use for my pitchers. I'm like, I didn't know this was a thing.
They're like, hey, you have 2 people not in your lineup. I'm like, I dropped people and added people, and it feels like I can never have enough people. I don't know.
I'm out on fantasy baseball, to be honest. Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah. Follow us. You already follow us. Follow at Be in the Know, or don't. It's fine. I don't care anymore. If you're here listening, that's all I want.
Yeah.
That's it. Appreciate y'all. See you soon.
We out.